Digimon Ghost Game excitement is at fever pitch right now, and while its potential for the future of Digimon is incredibly exciting, I wanted to take a minute to look at how Ghost Game connects right back to the very origin of the Digimon franchise. So on today's very special episode of the Digimon Manga Retrospective, I'll be looking at the original digital monster I'll Become The Digimon King, and how it directly led to the creation of Digimon Ghost Game. What is up everybody, welcome back to another video. Thank you for liking and subscribing, and no, we're not on the normal set today, I'm getting it ready for something coming up. And yes, on today's video I want to talk about the Digimon King guide, and specifically the Go Go Digimon manga that is contained within its pages. Extra special shout out to Air of Lost in Translationmon, who translated this entire guide for me. He put in a lot of work on this one, so please do check out the links to the Lost in Translationmon Twitter and YouTube in the description. So, digital monster I'll Become the Digimon King, or as I'll be shortening it to for the sake of brevity for the video, Digimon King, was a guide for the Digimon V-Pet published on September 8th, 1997, 24 years ago this month. Every time I talk about how old my favourite franchises are, I feel like Matt Damon at the end of Saving Private Ryan. It served primarily as a guide to both Digimon and the virtual pets that children across Japan were using, but instead of just boring columns of text, Digimon Next featured a set of manga chapters called Go Go Digimon, featuring the first trio of Digimon protagonists. There is some debate as to whether Digimon King or Come On Digimon came first. Incidentally, you can check out my video on Come On Digimon in the card above me right now, but from what I can tell, Come On Digimon was published first, making its protagonist Kentaro the very first Digimon protagonist, but very closely followed by Go Go Digimon's main character, who is called Digi. So Go Go Digimon is a lot more basic. It's really just using the format of a manga to deliver instructions to kids who might not be familiar with the whole V-Pet system. And so the main characters are called Digi, his sister is called Mon, wonder where they got that idea from, and the guy that teaches them everything is called Master, or Coach. Super original! I'm sure you're already seeing how this trio ties into Ghost Game, but I'm going to keep you waiting for now while I quickly abridge the plot. The first part of the manga shows Digi proudly displaying his new Digimon V-Pet, and Mon exclaiming it's in their hands. She likes to end her sentences with the Mon from the word Digimon, but I'm not going to say it each time. This part focuses on what a Digimon is. Mon is excited about raising a strong monster, and Digi notices the tab in the bottom of the V-Pet, throwing it away and activating his V-Pet's battery in doing so, and Mon does likewise. They wait 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and eventually an hour, and nothing is born from their Digitama, which causes the two to become frustrated. Suddenly, Master appears, one who raises Digimon the fastest and is Digi's Digimon Master. Ugh. So I guess that's a concept that goes this far back too. The manga then transitions into a guide that goes over all the things needed to hatch a Digi-Egg, as well as various ways to carry your V-Pet, including a lanyard. And the guide makes sure to stress that it's okay for boys to carry their V-Pet on a lanyard. Or Mon's personal pick, which is like a transparent carry case, which Digi isn't super fond of. The manga picks up again as Digi's V-Pet begins to beep, and he tells his Digimon not to cry and that he'll feed it, though Mon is concerned that Digi is overfeeding his Digimon. Digi is not happy that his Digimon is full and scolds it, to which Mon says it must mean it's full. Digi, then determined to just cram as much junk into his Digimon as possible, Digi, it's called being a feeder, and people like me will not stand for it, then begins shoveling protein into his Digimon before Master comes in to interrupt once again. The guide then transitions to focusing on the raising and caretaking of Digimon. Go Go Digimon resumes, with Digi and Mon ready to battle their V-Pets, a core selling point of Digimon V-Pets over Tamagotchi. They dock their V-Pets and growl at each other, with Digi's Digimon losing the battle. The two are tired, and Master, the smug prick, swoops in again to Digi-splain battles to them. The manga concludes with the aim to be the strongest chapter, with Digi and Mon in Sentai outfits doing their best pose. Master laments he can't keep up with them, but they tell him they have a costume for him too. Putting everything he's learned to the test, Digi is finally ready to battle his Master.
You underestimate my power!
Digi pits his Airdramon against Master's Greymon. Great to see Greymon Greymon again so early in the franchise. Of course, this Greymon is Tenya Yabano's interpretation instead of Kenji Watanabe's, and Yabano's design for Greymon is very different, but would eventually go on to become Zero Maru the Vidramon in Digimon V-Tamer. Digi defeats his master, and Master congratulates him for passing the test to become a Digimon King, with Digi and Mon's champions digivolving to the next stage. Airdramon becomes Metal Greymon, and Mon's Digimon becomes Monzemon, which he remarks as being cute. And then the guide rounds out with information on how the kids at home can become Digimon Masters too. So that's the plot. It's paper thin. I mean, it's literally printed on paper, but I think a really fun way to teach kids how to raise and battle their Digimon. Before we carry on, I often get asked how I edit my videos, and a lot of people especially ask me how I keep up the motivation to continue a consistent weekly video schedule. And if you're interested in that too, you might find it very interesting to check out today's sponsor, Skillshare. Yeah, really. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators. Explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity, including classes on illustration, film and video, productivity, and much more. I personally have been exploring the Productivity for Creatives, Build a System That Brings Out Your Best class by Thomas Frank, because while I have a handle on my writing, presentation, and editing, I really struggle with finding my production groove and maintaining a good work-life balance. Skillshare is curated specifically for learning, meaning there are no ads and they're always launching new premium classes so you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. Whether you're a dabbler or a pro, a hobbyist or a master, you're creative. Discover what you can make with classes for every skill level. And if you're interested in checking out Skillshare yourself, the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare so you can start exploring your creativity today. Thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to the video. Now to the really interesting bit. Much like Come On Digimon and Digimon V-Tamer, Go Go Digimon was illustrated by Tenya Yabano, a legendary Digimon artist, usually of manga, but I think as deserving of credit as Kenji Watanabe for helping shape Digimon's visual identity. Throughout Digimon King, we see lots of Yabano's takes on Watanabe's designs, and I find them absolutely fascinating. And yes, most pertinently, Tenya Yabano was consulted to do character design draft for Digimon Ghost Game's 3 protagonists. And this is where a real Digimon legacy forms. It's very easy to see how Digimon and Master very easily translate to Hiro, Ruri, and Kyoshiro, and this excites me greatly. Even more fascinating is that this lineage doesn't start with Go-Go Digimon and then jump 24 years. If we look at Come On Digimon, it's very clear how Digi became Kentaro and Master became Shinichiro. Though very interesting how the incredibly similar character design of Master became an antagonist in Come On Digimon Shinichiro. Perhaps the idea of a much smarter Digimon fan and eventually a villain burdened by knowledge appealed to Yabano. So what I'm saying is that if you're a Digimon know-it-all who likes to actually people, Tenya Yabano thinks you're a dog. From there, Kentaro was adapted to Taichi V-Tamer, and Shinichiro became Neo. Again, I cover this more deeply in my Come On Digimon video, but from there, a legacy is created. From Taichi V-Tamer becoming Taichi in Digimon Adventure, the legacy of the Gogglehead carrying through, the rival character, sometimes an outright villain like Neo, and sometimes more of a secondary protagonist who rubs the protagonist the wrong way, like Yamato in Digimon Adventure. That legacy carries on through manga, anime, video games, every Digimon iteration you can think of, right until the current day. And that's why I'm so excited for Digimon Ghost Game. So willing to give it a chance, because a lot of people who aren't as familiar with the entire franchise are saying things like, is he even a real protagonist if he doesn't have goggles? Which, way to hurt Masaru's feelings. Or that the cast look too different to other seasons of the anime, when it's actually the inverse situation. We have a protagonist without goggles because the very first 2 protagonists, Digi and Kentaro, didn't have goggles. We have a trio, both because literally in Go-Go Digimon it is a trio of protagonists, and then thematically in Digimon V-Tamer, the Alias 3, the relationship between Neo, Taichi, and Rei, the relationship between Neo, Hideto, and Rei, as well as the 3 points of the V. Side note, the symbol for this season, aside from Gamamon's eye, seems to be a Valknut, which is 3 triangles, or V's, interlocked. I see that subtle V-Tamer reference. And while Hiro, Ruri, and Kyoshiro have their own personalities, you can absolutely see echoes back to Digimon and Master's designs and personality archetypes. archetypes. The confident, perhaps overconfident protagonist, the excitable female friend, and the cool know-it-all who perhaps is a little bit too cocky at times and due for a fall. One of my absolute favourite things about Digimon is that it is ever changing and ever evolving, sometimes to great success and sometimes to its detriment. But I am utterly in love with how a brand new season of the Digimon anime is allowed to reinvent by incorporating horror elements as well as incorporating a hugely successful brand new exercise V-Pet in the Digimon VB as the new Digivice, but while having all these modern elements is still able to call back to where it all began. To hire both the artist Tenya Yabano for the characters and Kenji Watanabe for the Digimon, as well as Hiroshi Izawa, the original story designer for V-Tamer, to consult on the plot. Men who got to shape the formative clay that went on to become an incredibly successful franchise that is beloved throughout the world, and has been for over 2 decades. Thank you to them, thank you to everyone at Digimon, and thank you Go Digimon, because without you, we wouldn't have Go Ghost Game. Had to end on a pun, didn't I? And that's the video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you're most excited for about Digimon Ghost Game in the comments down below. And also let me know your thoughts on Go Digimon. Is this the first time you've heard about it? Is it the first time you've heard the plot? Or are you completely familiar with it and just excited someone's talking about it? Let me know. The story is incredibly basic, but that's the nature of it being a V-Pet guide, but I still think such a fascinating and historic part of the franchise that it's worth talking about. Do make sure to subscribe if you got this far, because there is tons more Digimon Ghost Game content coming, as well as top 10s and videos on the history of the Digimon franchise, and I'd really hate for you to miss out on that content. Thank you once again to Air of Lost in Translationmon for translating the Digimon King guide for me. Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. And let's thank some channel members. The Sovereigns! Andrew Sobel and Night 12. The best of the best, the cream of the crop. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for becoming Sovereigns. Truly my Azulongmon and Ibonwumon. You guys can fight over which Sovereign you are, but I of course dearly appreciate you guys becoming the Sovereign level. The wonderful Digi-Destined, Anthony Bontomasi, Reese Williams, Sad Uncle Callum, and Crimson Dragon Slayer. Thank you so much, Digi-Destined. And the Tamers, the Blessed Rain, Errant Harpy, Emily, Mike McNulty, and Theo Navarro. And to everyone in the Khan Club, thank you for watching and supporting the channel. Hope you're enjoying the early access videos, and I'll see you next time when we go digital. Bye bye.